It was an ordinary Tuesday night, or so I thought. The day had been long, filled with the usual stress of work and errands. I had just returned home, and was grateful to finally relax. My small apartment offered the comfort I needed, and I relished the peace that greeted me when I closed the door behind me. I never imagined that the tranquility I felt that night would be shattered by terror. After dinner, I made myself a cup of chamomile tea and settled onto the couch with a book. As I read, I couldn't shake the feeling that something felt off. The apartment, usually warm and comforting, felt unusually quiet, the kind of quiet that wasn't comforting but unsettling. I brushed the feeling off, telling myself it was just my imagination. After a while, I began to hear noises, soft creaks and clicks that seemed to come from inside the walls. I thought it might be the building settling, or perhaps some mice. Still, the noise seemed persistent and strangely rhythmic, almost as if something or someone was moving. I decided to do a quick check around the apartment. I looked in each room, switching on lights as I went along, even though I knew no one was supposed to be there. Everything seemed fine. Sighing with relief, I settled back onto the couch. But the strange noises returned, louder this time, echoing through the hallway. "Who's there?" I called out instinctively, my voice sounding more confident than I felt. My heart thudded in my chest as I waited for a response. Nothing. Silence stretched on, amplifying my unease. I convinced myself that I was being paranoid, tired after a long day, and decided to put on a movie to distract myself. The soft glow of the TV illuminated the darkened living room as I tried to get lost in the plot. As I was starting to relax, the sound returned, now closer, seemingly originating from just outside the door. I paused the movie and stared at the door. The handle moved slightly, as if someone had their hand on it but wasn't quite sure they wanted to turn it. A chill ran down my spine. My heart pounded. I crept to the door, holding my breath, and peered through the peephole. Nothing. The hallway was empty. I almost laughed at myself for being so scared. But when I stepped back, the door suddenly rattled violently, as though someone was desperately trying to open it. I screamed, jumping back, my eyes fixed on the handle, which shook and twisted wildly. And then, it stopped. Silence enveloped the room once more, and I stood frozen, trembling. I felt helpless, trapped inside my own apartment. I grabbed my phone and dialed the police, my fingers fumbling over the screen as I tried to explain what had happened. They assured me they would send someone, but it might take a while. Short-staffed, they said. I double-checked that the door was locked, then barricaded it with a chair, hoping it would buy me time if whoever was outside decided to come back. I backed away slowly, my eyes still on the door, and then the tapping started. This time, it wasn't coming from the door, it was coming from the window. I turned around, my heart pounding in my ears. The curtains were drawn, but the tapping continued, rhythmic, insistent. My hands shook as I reached for the curtains. I held my breath and pulled them open in one swift motion. Nothing but darkness. I sighed with relief, but my comfort was short-lived. I noticed something, a shadow, a figure standing at the far corner of the window, barely visible. I blinked, trying to make out the shape in the dark. It moved. The shadow shifted slightly, stepping closer to the window, and I saw the outline of a face. A smile. A sinister grin that sent a cold wave of fear crashing over me. I stumbled backward, nearly tripping over the coffee table. My phone slipped from my grasp and clattered to the floor. I scrambled to pick it up, my eyes darting between the window and the door, my mind racing with questions. Who was this person? Why were they targeting me? The door rattled again, and I heard a voice, low, barely above a whisper. "Let me in, Emily." They knew my name. Panic surged through me, and I ran to the kitchen, searching for something to protect myself with. I grabbed a large knife and crouched down behind the counter, trying to steady my breathing. I could hear footsteps now, slow and deliberate, moving from the door to the window and back again, as if the person outside was toying with me, enjoying my fear. Minutes felt like hours as I sat there, clutching the knife, every muscle in my body tense. My phone buzzed, startling me. A message from the police: an officer is on the way. Stay inside. Stay calm. Stay calm. Easier said than done. Suddenly, the doorknob stopped rattling, and the footsteps ceased. The silence was deafening. I strained to hear, but there was nothing. Maybe they had left. Maybe the police had scared them off. I slowly stood up, the knife still in my hand, and crept toward the door. I moved the chair aside as quietly as I could and leaned in to look through the peephole again. A face stared back at me. I gasped and jumped back, my heart pounding painfully in my chest. The person on the other side of the door laughed, a chilling, hollow sound that echoed through the hallway. Tears welled up in my eyes. I didn't know what to do. I felt trapped. Suddenly, there was a loud bang on the door, followed by another, each one more forceful than the last. They were trying to break in. I backed away, clutching the knife, my eyes wide with terror. Then, I heard something else, a voice, a different voice, shouting. The banging stopped, and I heard footsteps running away. I peeked through the peephole and saw a police officer standing in the hallway, his flashlight shining in all directions. I unlocked the door, my hands trembling, and opened it just enough to see the officer's face. "Are you okay, ma'am?" he asked, his eyes filled with concern. I nodded, though I didn't feel okay. I was shaken, terrified, and exhausted. The officer stepped inside, looking around the apartment, checking every room to make sure it was safe. "They're gone," he said after a few minutes. "We'll have someone patrol the area for the rest of the night, but it looks like they took off when they heard me coming." I nodded again, my voice caught in my throat. The officer gave me a reassuring smile, though it did little to calm my nerves. "Do you have someone you can call? Someone who can stay with you tonight?" he asked. I thought about it. My family lived out of state and my friends. I didn't want to bother them at this hour. I shook my head. The officer hesitated, then said, "Okay, well, we'll do our best to keep an eye on the building. Make sure all your windows and doors are locked, and don't hesitate to call if you need anything." I thanked him, and he left, closing the door gently behind him. I locked it again, sliding the chain into place, and leaned against the door, trying to steady my breathing. The apartment was silent once more, but it no longer felt like home. It felt like a prison, a place where I was trapped with my fear. I didn't sleep that night. I sat on the couch, the knife still in my hand, and watched the door, waiting for any sign of movement, any sound that might indicate the stranger had returned. My mind replayed the events over and over, the rattling doorknob, the tapping on the window, the face staring back at me through the peephole. Who was that person? Why had they targeted me? How did they know my name? Morning came, and the first rays of sunlight filtered through the curtains. The warmth of the sun should have brought me comfort, but it didn't. I was exhausted, my body aching from tension, my mind foggy from lack of sleep. I knew I couldn't stay here. Not after what had happened. I packed a bag, grabbing only the essentials, and left the apartment. I didn't know where I was going, maybe a hotel, maybe a friend's place. I just knew I couldn't stay there. As I walked down the hallway, I couldn't help but glance at the other doors, wondering if the person who had terrorized me lived in one of those apartments, if they were watching me even now. The thought sent a shiver down my spine, and I quickened my pace, eager to leave the building behind. I ended up at a hotel across town, a small, nondescript place that offered anonymity and a sense of safety, however fleeting. I checked in, my eyes darting around the lobby, half expecting to see the stranger's face among the other guests. But there was nothing, just ordinary people going about their day, unaware of the terror that had consumed my night. The room was small but clean, and I locked the door the moment I stepped inside, sliding the deadbolt into place and securing the chain. I set my bag down and collapsed onto the bed, the weight of the night finally catching up to me. I wanted to sleep, to forget everything that had happened, but every time I closed my eyes, I saw the face staring back at me through the peephole, the sinister smile that had haunted me. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to feel safe again. The police had said they would patrol the area, but what if the stranger came back? What if they found me here? The thought was too much to bear, and I felt tears welling up once more. I reached for my phone and called my sister. She answered on the third ring, her voice groggy with sleep. "Emily." "What's going on?" she asked, concern lacing her words. I hesitated, then said, I need help. Can I stay with you for a while?" There was a pause, then she said, "Of course." "What happened?" I didn't have the energy to explain, not over the phone. "I'll tell you when I get." Thank you for watching this video. Make sure you subscribe to this channel for more videos.